Heli, what have you been called too much of?
Okay, I've been called too loud, too disruptive, too complex, too intense, too ambitious, too challenging, too strong, too excited, too enthusiastic, too impatient, too demanding, and too quick.
And can you tell us some anecdotes or stories about one of these times you've been called too much of something and how it made you feel, whether you took that to heart, who said it, in what context?
15 years ago, this was probably one of the most defining moments of having consequences for my life. About 15 years ago, I used to work in a corporate and we had large team meetings, and either during the meeting or after the meetings I was always told to not talk until everyone had sort of got it, and I got feedback that I was too quick. I would sort of look at the problem on the table and I would instantly see where we could go. I could see all different directions and the possible best solution for it. And I wanted to discuss it, and I always thought that everyone thought that way. Everyone's thought process was like that, but I was basically made to shut down. I was told that I was too fast and it wasn't good, and it was disruptive for everybody else. And in a line manager meeting later on, I got told off, and I was asked to not speak in those meetings until I was sure that everyone else sort of was on the same page and understood the problem. And that's probably had the most long-lasting effect on how I've conducted myself and how I've perhaps been quiet and stopped myself from putting my thoughts forward and putting suggestions forward and putting myself forward. And I think it's definitely had an impact on what kind of roles I've taken and how I have or haven't gotten a job or how I've advanced and how I've kept myself quite small and quiet.
Lovely. And if you could take each of your too muches and say how they are your power and what you love about that power, and how it's helped you in your life, how it's helped others in their lives. I
think the being too loud is one that is actually, in a sense, it's a blessing. Like I can make people pay attention, and not just to me, but to things that are important, and causes that are important, and sometimes silencing.
That's right.
Sometimes silencing other voices that are destructive and are trying to keep us small, keep others small. Sorry.
That's all right. A lot of people get emotional at this point. I think it's one of the hardest things is to say.
Yeah. Definitely being too excited and too enthusiastic, I think are some of my real strengths. I'm really good at motivating people and rallying people around a project or a cause or an idea, and getting people, inspiring and motivating people to look at something in a different way, or sometimes, just if you're tired, just to carry on and work towards something. I always think that we always say that the it's the journey, it's not the destination, and I believe that the journey should be as inspiring and fun and motivating and just enjoyable as the outcome, and then there should be, we should always try to generate value to ourselves and others in everything that we do. And I think being a bit excited and enthusiastic goes a long way in helping that happen and keeping up a certain good energy with people.
Yeah.
So that's something. I don't like that one. I felt a bit shallow.
No. Carry on. What are the other ones?
I want to address the being too quick. So too quick. I don't think there's such a thing as too quick. I think for me it actually, what it is it's an expression of my intuition and generally just instincts around people and ideas that helps me very quickly. I'm very quick at connecting the dots, and sometimes the dots that aren't even visible. And when I work as coach, that's incredibly helpful, because I can quickly figure out several different paths or options and can more easily guide the person to see what's actually going on. And in other types of work, in strategy work, being quick is a strength in making decisions and being decisive about what insights are relevant, and what's actually relevant for the project at hand or the problem at hand, and being decisive or quickly decisive means that things can move forward very quickly, and there's a certain aspect then behind that of taking responsibility for what I put forward. So I don't think there's such a thing as too quick.
Absolutely. And what do you really love about being too quick in yourself? Like what brings you joy about your too muches?
I get lots done.
Yeah.
I get lots done when I'm allowing myself to be enthusiastic and excited and passionate and loud, because that's part of my expression of myself. It then means that it's almost like I self-generate the energy to get a lot of things done. And it's not just about multitasking, it's also about fearlessly taking on things and just going for it and taking up opportunities and also creating opportunities and possibility around me for myself and for others. So yeah, it's almost like it's a certain kind of energy that it is.
If someone, say a young person, came up to you and said, look, I have been called, too loud, too versatile, to all of the things that you have been called, what would be your advice to them?
I would probably first ask them how they feel about that. Like, do they see it's problematic in some way? Just to gauge whether it's a belief that they have or whether it's just something that they hear. And so that I could understand when does this get said to them. And then I would probably help them see how it is a strength for them. And actually people noticing you and trying to define you in some way can be a positive, because it can give you feedback on something that you're actually very good at, or there's something that you're doing right, or in some way you're being very true to yourself, and it's showing and other people are noticing, and they're then labeling it in some way, and it's up to you to decide whether it's helpful to you or not, so whether you accept it or not. And then there are several ways of dealing with that if it's persistent and if you think it's a negative. I think that's the conversation I would have with them.
And what are these ways? What would you suggest? Which ways would you suggest? What would you?
I think to look inside of you and really be honest with yourself as to what are your values in life, and what is it that what kind of mark do you want to make in the world? and take your guidance from that. And if the conversations around you and at you are not helpful, just fearlessly go and find the other conversations, because they do exist. They do exist.
Good advice. And
sorry.
No.
My own stand, what I stand for in life, is that everyone to have one person who believes in you. And if I can be that person for, I strive to be that person in all my conversations. And I wish for everyone to find someone like that. It makes all the difference in those moments when we doubt ourselves. To have someone who doesn't doubt you.
I leads very well into the next question, because I'm going to ask you, if you could imagine a perfect world, what does it look like?
Perfect world. Okay. A perfect world. A perfect world, to me, is a place where we all acknowledge our strengths and weaknesses, and we all allow each other and ourselves to truly, honestly be who we are, and where we understand that in order for everyone to evolve, we have to allow people to make mistakes and to be uncertain at times and to fail, and they can still be the best version of themselves. Like, those things aren't mutually exclusive. And to me, that would be perfect. It's like the accepting all imperfectness would be perfect.
Is there anything that you would like to say, do, share with people, or now, in this moment, anything at all?
I just want everyone to remember that you know best who you are. You know best. Trust yourself. And everything will be okay.